That's another thing too that a lot of people do, where they can wait until things are perfect. They want the perfect website that says exactly what they want it to say. You want to have all the setup to do a podcast, all the professional lighting, professional equipment, and you don't have to wait for that. In fact, more so now than ever, if you have things that are a bit, less professional looking, then it actually makes people say, well, that person's more realistic.
Welcome to the Spiral Up podcast. I'm your host, Dr. LaChelle Wieme, a peak performance coach and business strategist dedicated to helping you see what's possible within you, the blind spots that are holding you back, and the solutions to ensure success and fulfillment without the hustle. I use my secret sauce of metaphysics, brain science, and scripture to work with God to manifest your ideal life and business. If you're ready to create massive forward momentum in your business and bust through the blocks that drag you down, join me on the Spiral Up journey and create the clarity, confidence, and consistency to become the CEO that lives your life by design. It's time to create the sustainable impact, income, and time freedom you desire faster. Now is the time to spiral up. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Spiral Up podcast. I'm your host, Dr. LaChelle Wieme, and it is so much fun to bring you my new friend, brand strategist, Rebecca Boyle. You guys, she is joining us all the way over from the other side of the world in Europe, and it's just so fun to get a chance to meet people from so many different backgrounds, but people who also are going through the same things that I'm going through, the same things that the listeners are going through. So Rebecca, it's so nice to see you today.
No, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to have a chat.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so why don't you do us the honor of hearing who it is that you help? What are you showing up in the world doing and making the difference with?
I'm Rebecca Boyle and I'm brand strategist, and I help B2B businesses get clear, confident, and in control of their brand. And that's usually people are from technical backgrounds, they're really great at what they do, but they just don't know how to show other people that they're awesome at that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So I mean, that's the thing that I see over and over again with people who are ready to not only start their businesses, but to level up in their businesses. And that fear of visibility is a real thing, right? Like all of a sudden I have to take myself and my visibility to another level, and it feels vulnerable. It feels unsafe. It feels, gosh, other people are going to watch me fail, watch me succeed, and judge me. There's so many things. What are some of the things that you see with people that you're working with? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so there'll be a lot of that. So when you're running a small business in particular, you're generally the face of your company. So a lot of business owners I work with, some of them didn't even have a photo that showed up on search engines. They just didn't have any pictures of themselves anywhere. And so it's about reassuring them that they don't have to put out content that's personal. They can still be the face of a brand without it being really vulnerable like that. There's a balance you can have. And a lot of people try and censor what they say, particularly like on LinkedIn and stuff. They're worried about what they're going to say and how that will impact them and impact on their business. So there is a balance where you just have to give people that confidence to say, just be yourself. It's highly unlikely you're going to say anything that's going to be that bad.
Right. Well, and I think that's one of the things that I've seen over and over again is that people are trying to do it on their own. Right. And I think it just literally takes somebody to walk alongside of you and say, you're sounding great. Like you look great. Like you're doing great. And just giving them that little vote of confidence that they're on the right track. But I think that sometimes when we are left to our own selves is really hard to get into action sometimes.
Yeah, I think you're most critical of yourself, like when you see yourself on a podcast or whatever it is, you think, oh, my voice or my face or, what was I saying? And you're really critical of yourself, whereas other people aren't as critical of you as you are. And so if you just put yourself out there, and as you say, if you have like a group of people around you, if it's other small business owners, if it's other people within the industry that are there for support, you can't do it by yourself as a business owner. And it is important that you have people that you can go to that are in the same boat and can say that to you and be supportive.
Yes. And I want to get into, why a personal brand and that visibility is so important. And I want to take that conversation there eventually. But something that you said really does tie well into this season of the Spiral Up podcast, which is vulnerability. And you mentioned that sometimes business owners are afraid they're going to have to be vulnerable, and they don't have to be. But today you're choosing to allow us to get into the behind the scenes of Rebecca and the who you are and the things that you've had to do and who you've had to be in order to be as successful as you are. And I just want to start with acknowledging that you and I both have this same kind of similar background, I guess, in the sense of not really having anybody modeling for us what to do or how to show up in this space. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your backstory?
Yeah, so I'm from Northern Ireland and it's a very small country. And I grew up working class from what would be called a deprived neighborhood, especially growing up at the end of the Troubles, or there was a lot of bomb scares, all that kind of thing going on. There's still a lot of violence. So at that time, there was no one that I knew that ran their own business, that were at a management level, that were anywhere near kind of that level that you could look to or speak to, or even ask them to make connections for you and that kind of thing. So you're really starting at the bottom rung of the ladder. A lot of people I grew up with, a lot of them didn't go to university or anything like that. So it's something that's very different. And when you don't see that around you, then you think, well, I can't do that. And even when I was thinking about going to university, I wouldn't have considered, more prestigious universities. I wouldn't even had the thought to apply for those,
right?
Because you just didn't think about it,
No, absolutely. I mean, I can relate to that so much. And I don't talk about this part of my life very often on the show, but when I think back to my own journey in college, I wanted to be a heart surgeon. That was my initial goal professionally. And I ended up going down the path of anesthesia, which is amazing. But I will tell you that I was scared to stay pre-med. I was scared to apply to medical school because I was afraid that I wasn't cut out for it or wasn't good enough. And here's somebody who had never had a B in my life, like did well in school, but I didn't have anybody around me that had even gone to college before. And so I kept thinking, well, I don't know if I have what it takes to do that. And then in medicine, I have all these people who grew up in a family of doctors, and it was never even a thought because it was just how they grew up.
Yeah.
And so we can get ourselves stuck into comparing ourselves or thinking that I don't have what it takes or I don't have the tools that other people have. And we can allow that to keep us stuck. Or we can decide, I'm going to take what I have. I'm going to use this. I'm going to use my grittiness. I'm going to use my scrappiness. I'm going to use my resiliency, and I'm going to make something of myself, even though I don't have anybody necessarily showing me the way directly. And I think that's just part of who I am as a person. How does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I think it's exactly that, where if you look at it in the way that, okay, I don't come from a medical background and, I don't know anybody within that I can ask about it. The thing is, you are different. So you came from, if you come from working class background or whatever, they are actually things that can make you different and better in a different way. For example, growing up, I've learned to be pretty tough skinned, which has been really useful in business because it's tough being a business owner and you get lots of rejection and things don't go your way. It can be very frustrating. And so if you have that tough skin and you can go, okay, well, I'll just move on to the next thing, so it can make you, if you kind of change your mindset and think, well, okay, I don't have that same background, but how does my background help me? I can be different then. That's not a bad thing.
100%. I mean, that's just it. So a lot of the things that I do with my clients is identity work, right? So I recognize that our identity and who we believe we are at our core is the thing that is going to most influence our beliefs and who we are and how we fit in the world and our thoughts and our feelings and our actions and therefore our results, right? I choose to focus my identity on all the reasons that I can't or that I don't fit in, have what that person has, or I wasn't born with that. I can choose to stay there and let that be my identity of somebody that is a victim of my circumstances, that's a victim of things, and that I don't have this, or this. Or I could choose the identity of I am somebody who continues to take what I have and shine that and make that be a tool and a skill and be the thing that helps me to create that I have things that they don't have. Right. And I think
Exactly.
about that, like, my parents did the best they could, but they farmed and we didn't have a lot growing up.
Mhm.
And so I had to work harder to get scholarships, and I had to, I had 2 jobs in college to pay for things. And so what did that do for me? It taught me time management. It taught me to be organized. It taught me just the value of hard work and what I want out of my life. It taught me how to manage my money, and it
Yeah.
taught me that I couldn't afford to not pay attention in this class and just drop it. Like I had to, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
all of those things were gifts to me that I chose to use instead of allowing them to be excuses of why I can't.
Exactly. And I mean, when I was doing minimum wage jobs, and you're treated terribly at some of these jobs,
Yeah.
you're getting paid the lowest rate of pay, and it's not good. And it does teach you, even though you hate it, you still have to show up to that job every day because you
Right.
need the money.
Yes. Yes.
So you have to keep doing it whether you like it or not. And
Mhm.
again, that gives you that resilience because, again, run the business or a lot of things in life, they're not easy, but you have to do them anyway. A lot of life is boring and repetitive and that kind of thing. So
Right.
although at the time it can be awful, but it does really help you, I think, in the long run. And although I didn't like, those kinds of jobs, and I worked as a chef and that kind of thing in very busy and pressured environments where people weren't always as pleasant. I mean, you would have had other chefs making other ones cry and that kind of
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
It's just all that kind of thing. And that actually really helps, now. And, looking back, you can see that.
And so what inspired you to get into the work that you do?
Well, I always loved writing. I just loved it from I was a child, and I really wanted to be like a fiction writer. But I suppose I realized as a working class person, you're really not going to make money at that. It's going to be highly unlikely. So then, as a degree, I did journalism, and I did that for a bit. But again, when I graduated, it was 2008. There was a recession. They were getting rid of lots of experienced journalists. So never mind a newbie that really hadn't done a lot of it. And so again, not a lot of money at it. And in Northern Ireland, again, the opportunities, there weren't lots of them. So I suppose I done bits and pieces for a while, and done chefing and done lots of different jobs in between, which was a good thing to get all that experience. And then I decided to, I heard of copywriting. I can't even remember where I heard of copywriting, but I decided, okay, well, I'm going to give this a go,
Yeah.
and started doing it as a side hustle with my 9 to 5 job, and building up those relationships. And I didn't have a website for a number of years because as a copywriter, people ask me, should I have a website? And you should do, but there can be other things that are more important,
Yeah.
like building up those relationships first,
Yes.
and having that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's what a lot of people think, that especially when you're starting business, right? Is that I have to have all of the things. I have to have the
Yeah.
website. I have to have the business cards. I have to have,
Yeah.
all these things. But what you need are relationships to start
Yeah.
making money,
Yeah.
to build that belief in yourself. And
Yeah, that's the main thing that I find, that the relationships are the main thing that are going to get you work. And yes, you can do marketing and all these things, and they're great for awareness and getting, your name out there and your business name out there. But it really will be who you know, which I suppose, again, coming from a working class background, that is a disadvantage, and you have to work harder at making those connections because you don't have anybody within that world. And at first, I didn't even know where to go to meet people that did own their own businesses and things. So yeah, relationships are the main thing that you really need to focus on.
And I think that you said something that I've never really thought about before, but you're right. I do value building really solid relationships. And I think that as an introvert, I could easily use that as an excuse. But what I've done is I've taken my background, my scrappy, I'll figure it out background. And I'm like, I love connecting with people one-on-one. I love asking questions. I love getting to know people. And I think that having to work harder has actually led me to be better at it.
Yeah, I think it definitely takes practice. I mean, when I was younger, I was very quiet. I didn't have a lot of friends, because I was the same. I've gradually learned to get more outspoken. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, you'll have to ask my husband. But But yeah, I mean, and practice makes perfect. There's a lot of things that, public speaking and stuff, I wouldn't be fussed on that. I enjoy the one-to-ones like you said you do, but things like public speaking and that kind of thing wouldn't have been things, still particularly aren't things that I'm that comfortable with. But I think you just push yourself forward. Sometimes I'll send an email being like, okay, I'll ask if they want a speaker for this and not really think about it. And then if they come back and say, yeah, speak at our event, then I'm like, oh goodness. And then try not to think about it again until the day before the event. And just put yourself out there, go for it. Try not to think about it too much if you can. But yeah, I know a lot of business owners that are introverted, and you can use that as an excuse not to reach out. But I think even if you do small things, on a regular basis, you do get used to it,
Yes, you'd have to teach your nervous system that you're
Yeah.
safe and that you're going to be fine, and that it's practice, and it's creating those new brain pathways and that nervous system regulation that happens with that just repetition and actually doing it and proving yourself that you're not going to die, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
allowing that to happen. And you mentioned just building relationships. I'm just curious because you're successful, and I'd love to know, like, what are your best tips on building relationships that have led to your success?
I think taking a genuine interest in people, if you're genuinely interested in what people have to say, there's a lot of people that'll talk to me on topics that I have no idea about. They could be quite complicated, when I'm going to networking events, it could be something I've just no idea about. But because they're so passionate about it, it's interesting to listen to them and find out about them. So I would say when you're networking, try to remember people, remember something about them. If they mention maybe if they've children or if they enjoy certain things, try and keep that in mind. And then always follow up with people, because a lot of people go out, they meet people, and they never speak to them again.
Right.
So the follow up is a really big thing, because most people don't actually do that. And it's about just being genuinely curious about people. Just let people speak. When I'm talking to, potential clients, if I'm at a networking event, I'll find out what their challenges are that they're having first, rather than being like, oh, I'm a brand strategist, I can help you with this and this.
Right.
I just listen. I'm like, because maybe this person won't need my help, maybe they will, we'll find out. I'll listen to them and see what they talk about, what they're interested in. And if it's something I can help with, then I can let them know.
Yeah. And so you find that these relationships right now are being built very heavily on just going to networking events.
Yeah.
How else?
Anything like that. Yeah.
Like I was going to say, like, how are you meeting people? Like, what has been your biggest relationship builder?
Yeah. So I used to started with like more local networking events, but because Northern Ireland is a small place, there's only so much you can do. There's only so much of the type of size of business and things. I'll travel down to other places, other parts of the UK. If you join memberships, especially if you're going to niche down, if you join like industry specific stuff, like at the minute I'm a member of Women in Logistics. We had a network at the weekend there with them that we organized. And if you kind of are specific like that and join those types of things that you'll also have an interest in, and just join everything. When I first started, I just went to every networking thing, and you learn which ones you like, which you don't. I don't like the more formal ones, where you're sitting down, you have to give people certain referrals each week and that kind of thing. That's not for me. So when you go to all these different types of stuff, you'll just learn kind of what suits you, especially if you are an introvert, then maybe smaller stuff will be more appealing. But particularly at the minute, where since COVID as well, there's so many virtual things that you can join, groups all over the world. So just try them and see how they go.
I love that so much. Okay, so let's go back to your brand strategy and your visibility, because I think that people need to hear from you and your perspective as far as like, why is it important to put yourself in the middle of your business in that space?
Yeah.
My business is I am my brand, right? So it's different than maybe the chiropractor. You know what I'm saying? So I want to give you the chance to help us understand how important this is.
Yeah, so a lot of service businesses, you probably will be the face of your business if you're a smaller service business. It doesn't necessarily mean you need to be the face of everything, but it is good for people to put a name to and a face to the company. I remember someone asked me before, are you the voice of your company? And I used to think I was, but actually it's a different version of me. It's not necessarily you. When I show up with friends, I would maybe be a bit, my personality would be slightly different, maybe a bit more fiery, a bit more confrontational. Whereas in business, I'm not generally like that. I'm far more diplomatic and patient in business. And so there still is a difference between how you would show up in your personal life and your brand. So there is that difference. And it is important because, especially now with AI and the amount of noise that there is online, if you position yourself as someone people like to speak to, and they can see if you do videos and that kind of thing and podcasts, and people understand what you're like as a person, and if they're going to be working with you personally, that will obviously attract the people that you want to you, that vibe with you, and they're like, oh, that's my kind of person. And that's really important now more than ever, to kind of show up as a person, and be like, I'm a human. I'm happy to speak to you. I'm approachable. I'm friendly.
Yes, 100%. I mean, I used to teach social media well, actually, I haven't done this for a while. I used to do a free 5-day powerhouse profile social media event. Anyway, really just helping people to understand that if you live in a town where there are several people who all do what you do, when people feel like they know you, they like you, they trust you, they're more likely to choose your business over the competitor's business, right? So it's really just allowing, like you said, that personification of what it is that you do in order for people to not feel like just a number. I think especially in the age of social media and AI, that people are craving real relationships with real people, genuine relationships, but also not having to compromise the value and the quality of the things that we're purchasing or the services that we're inquiring about. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I would see that a lot, where people would say to me, for like bigger consultancy agencies or bigger marketing agencies and things, people would complain that they feel like just a checklist, they're just taking the money, doing the bare minimum, maybe can't get in touch with them. I hear a lot of complaints about that. And so that's why we wanted our company to be that personalized thing, because that is what people are missing. They want that personal interaction. And if you can show up in front of people and have as many conversations, whether it's virtual or at events, if you're getting in front of people and starting those conversations, that will really make a big difference.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So if we're convinced, right, like you should insert yourself into the face of your company in some way. So I wanted to speak to those people who are maybe struggling a little bit with it. Like, I hear you, but what do you have to say to those people?
Again, I say try it. You can only, if you can, just try and make yourself do it, and do it in small steps. Maybe you've never posted on social media before, or a certain platform like LinkedIn. Do a post, see how it goes. Because a lot of the time, again, going back to your worst critic, a lot of people aren't actually paying attention to you, which is really bad.
I know, that's just it. Like, nobody's thinking about you as much as you're thinking about you. Like, no.
Exactly. Yeah. You're like, oh, if I put up a post and it doesn't go down well, it's going to be the end of the world. And probably a lot of people, unfortunately, won't notice. So, just put it out there, and see how it goes. And I would say also, because if you are introverted or worried about those kinds of things, find out what suits you, because if you are that and you don't want to do podcasts or speaking events and that kind of thing, don't make yourself do those things. If you really don't want to, you can try them. And if they're not for you, then that's fine. Find something that you're happy doing and can possibly do consistently.
Absolutely. Yes. Oh my goodness. Okay. So there's something that you said that I want to touch on a little bit, because, well, a couple of things, but one of them is that you have to decide what's aligned for you. And people think that clarity comes from confidence, but actually clarity comes from action. And deciding what feels good, what doesn't feel good, and then discerning, being able to really trust yourself, trust your highest self. Is that my resistance here because this is out of alignment, or is my resistance here because I'm letting fear get in the way? Right?
And I think that's exactly what you said, where you have to do it because that's the only way you'll get confident in it. If you don't do it, if I didn't do podcasts or public speaking or all these things that I thought, they're not for me, I would prefer not to do those things. If you keep doing them, if they're not for you, then that's fine. But you could do them and think, actually, I really enjoy doing this, or
Yeah.
I'm actually getting better the more I'm doing
Right.
them. Or so exactly right, where it's that fake it till you make it kind of thing. It's, if I do these things, I should gain the confidence when I'm doing them.
Absolutely. And the other thing, though, that you said is so in alignment with the things that I teach as far as nervous system regulation, right? So we're not asking you to jump straight into speaking on a giant stage. We're
Yeah.
asking you to do one next step to improve your visibility that allows you to train yourself, train your body that this is safe.
Yeah.
And I
Exactly.
believe this over and over again, guys, that there's 3 affirmations that if you use consistently will literally cover all of your butts, like all of your excuses, all of the fears, that I am worthy, I am capable, and I am safe, right? And so when you can be like, okay, I am just going to start with a post, and I'm going
Yeah.
to prove to myself that that nothing is going to happen, that I didn't spontaneously
Yeah.
combust. I remember, oh my goodness, like thinking back when I started my business, I was terrified of being seen and
Mhm.
being judged and being rejected, right?
Mhm.
And so I was terrified of posting anything because I didn't want somebody to make fun of me or to think less of me or all these things. And so I stayed quiet. And then I decided that when I started building my business and I started building it online, that I had to be coachable. And if they were telling me to do this, I had to do it, but I had to start doing it and
Yeah.
proving to myself that I was going to be okay. And in my mind, I had catastrophized this. In my mind, literally, I was thinking if I posted about my business on Facebook, that I would run into somebody from work and they would run away from me at the grocery store, pretend like
Yeah.
they didn't see me. Like that's what I was telling myself in my head.
Yeah.
Not what
Yeah.
was happening.
No.
It's like either they didn't even see it or they're like, oh my gosh, tell me about what you got going on. Like, never did
Yeah.
I have somebody say, who the hell do you think you are?
Yeah.
But that's what we think. And I think that,
Yeah.
fear of success is actually harder than fear of failure because people are like, goodness, if I post my face on this, people are going to think, who the heck does she think she is now? And
Yeah.
all these things. That's not the case at all. And I
No.
was literally it was funny. I was at this retreat where there was like 9 women. And Rebecca, we had a group picture. And so all of us were in a line. And for whatever reason, I was standing in a way that one of my legs was like bent backwards and it looked like I was missing a leg.
Okay.
Okay. I noticed it right away. Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when I used to be a photographer, like the moms would notice the good pictures and it was always the ones that she looked the best in. Right. It
Yeah.
didn't matter if everybody else was picking their nose because that's what she would look at. So
They
anyway,
look
I
good.
was
Yeah.
like, you guys, look at me. I look like they don't even have a leg. And none of the women had ever even noticed.
Yeah.
And it was,
Again, you're the most critical person of
yes,
yourself. And I mean, I hate most photos, most videos, I
yeah,
hate most of that stuff of
yeah,
myself.
yeah,
And I will just be like, okay, it's out there, hard luck. If I want to, that's what I'm going to have to do to build my business. My photo will be in things and I
yes.
may not like it all the time, but just you learn to kind of get over it and just be like, okay, well, that's out there. It's not the best, but
Yeah,
that's just
you
life.
just start and you prove to yourself that you didn't
Yeah.
die, right? And I think
Yeah.
about back, I mean, now we've been doing this podcast for over 6 years. And
Hmm.
we have a YouTube following, we have the podcast following, but I started recording my episodes in my master bedroom closet.
Hmm. Yeah.
I wasn't comfortable on camera and all these
Yeah.
things, but I had to start somewhere. And I started
Yeah.
and I proved to myself that I was safe. I proved to myself what I was capable of. I started taking a little bit bigger risk. And all of
Yeah.
a sudden now here we are. And I'm on, stages all over the world. But it
Yeah.
had to start somewhere.
Yeah. And you can wait. That's another thing too that a lot of people do, where they can wait until things are perfect. They want the perfect website that says exactly what they want it to
Yes,
say.
yes.
They want to have all the setup to do a podcast, all the um, professional lighting, professional equipment,
Yeah.
and you don't have to wait for that.
Right.
You can, and in fact, more so now than ever, if you have things that are a bit, less professional looking, then it actually makes people say, well, that person's more realistic.
Yes.
They're not a
Yes.
professional. They're not the
Yes.
best at this. So again, start somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that one of the things that you are known for really is the consistency factor. I mean, I know that you went from a solo business to a partnership.
Yeah.
And in doing that, in the transition throughout lots of different ups and downs in the world, you have
Mhm.
been able to maintain an income level that doesn't dip. And one of
Yeah.
the things that I know that you've talked about with me outside of our recording right now is
Mhm.
how consistent action over
Yeah.
time is really been a key foundational thing for your business. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of small business owners find the feast and famine cycle where,
Mhm.
there's a lot of business and then suddenly there's nothing. And generally that's because when all the work's coming in, you're doing client work, you're not promoting your own business, you're not spending the time doing those kinds of things.
Right,
And so that's why when that dries up, then there isn't anything.
right,
And so what I did consistently is send that one email, do that one LinkedIn post, do it consistently and just small things, because especially if you're not from a marketing background, it can be really overwhelming. You think, oh, I have to do the website, I have to be doing all the social media channels, I have to be doing events and this kind of thing. And you can't do everything.
right,
So focus on a couple of things, that you want to do, maybe one or two social media platforms, maybe go to one event a month, make it realistic and things that you
yes,
will have the time and energy for, and just do those little things on a regular basis, and those results will come in. And you can feel when you're doing that nothing's happening here, because it
right,
can take time. For B2B and service businesses, sometimes it can take a year before you hear back from people and like, oh yeah, now I'm in a position that I actually need your help and I
right,
remember whatever.
yes.
um or someone passed you on, and it's been a long period of time. So just do those things consistently and it does make a big difference.
So I'm going to just kind of summarize some of the really big, beautiful nuggets that we've had up from our conversation. The first one would really just be that allowing your background to be a highlight of your strengths and why you're special versus allowing them to become reasons why you are at a
Mm.
disadvantage, right? So I love that. I loved how you helped us to see the importance of just allowing ourselves to be a part of the face of our businesses and to just give ourselves the permission to take small, imperfect action consistently,
Yeah.
and building relationships consistently behind the scenes are
Yeah.
all going to lead to the success that you have.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I mean, you could always be doing more, and you always think, oh, there's so many other things that I could be doing. And now I just, instead of having a list of to do things of, oh, I
Yeah.
should be doing this, this, and this, I focus on one thing, whether it's one thing a week or one thing a month, whatever it is, the one thing that you want to achieve
Yes.
that week, and just focus on that.
Yep.
And because you can become so overwhelmed with all the things that you could be doing, and it is just doing those small things.
100%. You guys, like, listen to her. The one thing, set that intention for the week, for the month,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
take that aligned, inspired action, right? And this action is
Mhm.
all follow through.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
really what's going to get us to the success level. And when you are at a place where, friends, you are feeling like, I am not getting myself into action, something is stalling me, whether it be this fear of visibility we've been talking about, whether it be fearing getting into those conversations and building those relationships, maybe it's fearing of just consistent action in some other way, know that there are tools out there that can help you with that. And one of the things that I want to invite you to is to consider one of my align and growth calls that I will do. I will be able to pinpoint the exact thing that's been holding you back from that next level, so that you know what has been running in the programming behind you, so that you can get into action and take the steps like Rebecca's been talking about. Rebecca, is there anything else that we haven't had a chance to touch on that we really want to cover before we wrap up our conversation?
I think we've covered a lot, actually. I think
I
it's
know.
it's been a lot. So yeah, I think as I say, the kind of consistency with branding, the small steps, don't wait till things are perfect. They're all the foundations of what I have found of marketing a business, and the relationships, building those support networks, and just reaching out to someone, once a day, once a week, whatever you can manage, and doing those things. And hopefully, you'll at least have the support. And things won't always go your way, things won't always work. You could do a certain type of marketing and find out it doesn't work.
Mhm.
And as you said, if you just do that and take those actions, if it doesn't work, then at least you find that out now.
Yes.
So
Yes.
at least that you've learned something.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. This has been so great just to get to know you, your heart. It's obvious that you really care a lot about what you do. And I just want to thank you for inspiring us with your real story of behind the scenes, right? We see all the highlight reels on LinkedIn, right? But it's the real stuff that's going on behind the scenes that we really need to allow ourselves to acknowledge and learn from each other. So thank you for that. And you guys, I want to make sure that you check out all of the information in the show notes so that you know how to follow Rebecca, all the things that she's doing, the things that she does to help her clients, and make sure that you connect with her. We would love, love, love to hear how this episode impacted you. So comment in our stories, send us a review, reach out in the email. Like, we want to hear from you, because this is what fills our soul, doesn't it, Rebecca? Is to just absolutely, absolutely. So you guys, thank you so much for listening. And Rebecca, thanks for being here.
No problem. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. So much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. Each honest review helps me spiral up so that I can serve you even better. Whether you're feeling a lack of impact, income, or time freedom, or perhaps you're just ready for massive momentum in your business, let's chat. Apply for a breakthrough call so that you can gain clarity, identify what's holding you back, and make a plan to spiral up. Head on over to iam-lifebydesign.com/breakthrough or access the link in the show notes. For immediate support, log into our community, the Better Club. We focus on inspiration, tactical guidance, and support. This is a community that wants to be better, do better, and have better in life and in business, and we're going to help you do the same. Let's spiral up, friends.